Hi Liza Lions, I hope you guys are ready for another awesome art project. Today we're going to be doing something simple. All you'll need for this project is a piece of paper and a pencil. Now this project, it's really simple, it's really straightforward. We're going to be drawing a roll of toilet paper because while you may not be able to find it in stores, at least you can draw your own. Now, toilet paper, learning how to draw toilet paper, actually teaches you about two very important elements of art. It's going to teach you all about value, creating light areas and dark areas, and it's also going to teach you about form, which is what we call three-dimensional shapes. So go ahead and grab yourself a pencil and a paper and let's get started. Alright, Liza, so the first thing we want to do with our paper is we want to make sure we have it turned the way that we like. I personally like portrait style. But you could also do it landscape style if you want. It's up to you. Now, I want my toilet paper to take up most of my paper because I don't want to just draw a tiny little, toilet paper roll and then have all this empty space. So I'm going to start off by creating a pair of guide dots. They're going to go right about here. Now, a roll of toilet paper is a kind of shape we call a cylinder. But it's not a tall, thin cylinder. It's a short, squat cylinder. Not too short and squat though, because I don't want to make a can of tuna fish. Now that I've got my guide dots, I'm going to connect them with a little bit of a frown. Not a big rainbow frown, just a little bit of a frown. Now when you're drawing with pencil, a helpful tip to remember, draw light till you get it right. That way if you mess up, it's easy to erase and start over. Now that I've got my little bit of a frown, we're going to put a little bit of a smile under here. I'm just going to lightly draw that little bit of a smile and connect it. There we go. And that makes a kind of a weird looking shape. It's almost like an almond shape or a deflated football. It's like an oval and then somebody reached up and pinched it together so it's got a corner on each end. Now I'm going to do the same thing again, but a little smaller and right in the middle of that football shape. Guide dot, slight frown, light smile. Have you guessed what part of the toilet paper this is? That's right, it's the top, and we've got our toilet paper hole. Now we need to figure out how long our toilet paper is going to be, how tall it is. I'm going to start at my guide dot, and I'm just going to lightly draw a line, and I'm going to stop and see if that looks about toilet paper size to me. That's probably a good length. I'm going to go to the other side, same thing, and I try to keep these lines even. Now, I draw light till I get it right, but when I do get it right, I like to go back over my lines and make it a little darker. And now that these guys are even, I can darken those lines and connect them with another curved line. But be careful, this line needs to be a little bit of a curved smile. That way, our toilet paper roll stays cylindrical. If I make a straight line across, it's going to flatten the whole bottom part of my toilet paper roll. If I do a frown line, it's going to change the whole shape. I don't even know what you'd call that shape. Instead, I'm just going to do a slight smile. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I've got the basic shape of my toilet paper roll. To make it look just a little bit more realistic, I'm going to make a little bit of paper curling off the end. So I'm going to start right here on this corner, and I'm just going to do a little bit of kind of like an S, just a little bit of an S. Now this line, I like the way that line turned out, so I'm going to give it a twin that comes out down here. And my twin is going to curve the same way that this line turned out. Now, there are no mistakes, only happy accidents, so maybe your twins will come out identical, but they might also come out a little different. We call those fraternal twins. Either way, you'll be okay. There we go. One line here, and I'm going to connect them with a straight line. There we go. If you want to do a little extra detail, you can very lightly do a dashed line along one side of your toilet paper roll to show where the edges are perforated. Now this is just what we would call a line drawing. There's no kind of value in this picture just yet, but we're going to add that. Remember, value is what happens when light shines on something. It creates areas that are light, called highlights, and areas where the light can't reach, we call those shadows. So I'm going to pretend that my light source is over here. I'm actually going to draw it, but you don't have to. I'm just going to do a little sun shining on my roll of toilet paper. Now, because my light is shining this way, that means this edge of my toilet paper roll is going to be lighter, this side will be darker. And of course the toilet paper hole is going to be pretty dark. So I'm going to start by filling in that area. It's going to be a little darker towards the bottom of the hole, a little lighter towards the top. And then I'm going to create some shadows over here. Some people like to call this shading. Proper term is shadow or value. And I'm just going to make an edge of darker gray right here. Then I'm actually going to very lightly make a curved area, curved lines, and I'm just going to curve these lines towards the middle of my toilet paper roll. Now this will work with any kind of pencil. I'm just using an art pencil I have lying around, but you could do this with your regular number 2 pencil, you could do this with crayon, you could do this with marker, but I find pencil is easiest to work with because you can build up those values and make them a little darker. The more I run my pencil up and down the edge of my toilet paper roll, the darker it gets. And I can also pick my favorite finger and use it to blend and smooth that gray pencil lead. So I want it to be really dark on this edge, lighter as it gets to the middle. Now there are a few other areas where we can do shadow. Because I've got this little bit of a fold where my paper is starting to curve off the edge, I could do just a little bit of a shadow there. Even though it's close to the light source, it doesn't have a perfect view. So I'm just going to put a little gray pencil here and then blend that in. And my picture is almost done. There is one more very important detail. My toilet paper roll is not just floating in outer space. It's resting on a surface. It could be a table, it could be the sink, it could be sitting on the floor, but it does need what we would call a drop or cast shadow. And we call it a cast shadow because you throw it on the ground, it breaks its arm, it has to put a cast on. So we're going to put a cast shadow here. Now the cast shadow is usually just kind of an oval shape. Just do a little bit of an oval, and I make sure that part of my oval goes under my roll of toilet paper. And then I fill in that shadow. Shadows have their own sense of value too though. In fact, my shadow is going to be a lot darker right under the toilet paper roll and a little bit lighter the farther away it gets. I'm just going to darken my shadow, and then of course my favorite finger, I'll just blend it out. So now I've created a picture of a roll of toilet paper with shadows and highlights and a drop or cast shadow. Now, even though it's a pretty simple drawing, what you learn with this drawing can be used for a lot of different things. You could use that cylinder shape, get rid of the hole and the extra piece of paper, and you could turn it into a coffee mug. You could turn it into a cake with some candles on top. You could turn it into a glass of water or soda. You could turn it into a lot of different things. You could even try stacking another shape on top like we did with the cake. There's a lot of things you can do with a form like a cylinder. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed that lesson. If you draw this toilet paper, I'd love to see it. You can send it to my school email or tag our school on your parents' Facebook account, whatever you want to do. And I will talk to you guys later.